Hi everyone, my name is Duvan Zambrano, and today I'm going to be presenting to you the project quality management, and this case scenario about cloud migration. So we're going to understand qualitative and quantitative risk analysis and quality focus areas for secure data migration. So in this case scenario, we had the challenge of the migration of 3 terabytes of critical data. So moving the company files to the cloud, involves 3 terabytes of information and millions of files that teams rely on daily. So this sensitive data requires careful analysis, not just of time frames, but of what could run and how to prevent problems. So I create this analysis in a phase approach breaks to make the project into manageable stages, allowing teams to engage at the right moments. So first, I create the 5-phase risk analysis approach. The first phase in this analysis was to understand the environment analysis, is to understand the current system, what is the existing, the real situation of the company, how the processes are, the storage, the actual storage in the company, and department interactions. So the main idea was to identify sensitive information and establish contact with the stakeholders. The second phase in the project is to identify systematic the risk, um, every risk. So we should create a list of potential risk like data loss, security issues, the downtime, delays, and the goal in this phase is to identify every single risk, no overlooking any of them or add any quantitative, qualitative value. It's just more to identify every risk and list all of them. The third phase of the risk analysis approach is a qualitative analysis, and this is an analysis that is created based on experience and professional judgment. So after knowing what is the existing and the real condition of the company, based on the experience, we can add or we can prioritize the risk most likely to cause significant harm. We can identify which one is more critical than the other one based on the professional judgment, right? The fourth phase is a quantitative analysis. After every single risk is listed, um, we're going to assign value to every risk, estimate mitigation timelines like impacts and failure consequences using actual figures. That is going to allow us to understand with numbers which is the risk more important or less important in this project. And finally, the fifth and last phase is the mitigation and monitoring. So the constant monitoring, define measures, backups, encryption batch, and continuously track performance is going to allow us to create a risk analysis more deep. Right after every risk is listed, it is important in these kind of projects to create a risk impact matrix and create an analysis of this one. This matrix will reveal which risks demand immediate attention and resource. In this case scenario, I identified 5 main risks, and the score of each one, as you can see on the screen. The first one is data loss. This is a catastrophic impact. If this risk happen in a project, is going to have highest priority because we cannot allow that any of the data that we're migrating to a new system is lost. The data breach is also a catastrophic impact, as you can see, has a score of 10, and it's a low medium probability that can happen. However, it's a critical protection needed on this risk. File permissions has a significant impact, right? And but it's a medium probability that this risk can happen. And the final two are important as well, not as critical as the first three. are the slower mitigation and the network issues. These are risks that can be manageable with tracking system that can, with monitoring, can be managed. This risk, but mm, they also have moderate impact in the project. After create this risk matrix impact, the conclusion in this case scenario is that the priority is the data protection first. We're working in migrate information, very important information in a company to a new or a different system. First thing is to prevent data loss. So even with a medium high probability, catastrophic consequence demand top priority. So implementing a robust backup systems and validation protocols, we can mitigate this risk. The second most important risk is the data breaches. So we're dealing with information like financial information, human resources, customer information in a company. So these require maximum security. Using encryption systems and access controls, we can mitigate these risks. And finally, we have the managed remaining risks. These are very important as well, but with effective planning and continuous monitoring, we can mitigate these before they come in critical threats. So finally, I identify some key takeaways for business leaders to understand why quality management is so important in projects. So based on this case scenario, um, the first key takeaway is focus on impact. We understand that we have multiple risks in every different project, but not all risks are equally important. So the matrix, risk impact matrix, reveals which threats require immediate resources and attention. The second key takeaway in this specific case is to protect data first. And migrate process, data loss and breaches must be prioritized above schedule or cost considerations. The high impact demands maximum protection in this project. The third key takeaway is the phased approach works. When we do an analysis like this, breaking migration into phases makes the project manageable and allows teams to engage at appropriate moments. And finally, the continuous monitoring. So in every single project, it's very important to track the development of the project, to track every risk, to continuous monitoring. So the track performance through migrations, we can manage the problems and adjust as needed to maintain the project in a good course. So that was all. Thank you so much for your attention.